Hello, I think we're live.
It
Beautiful.
looks like it. Yay.
It looks like we are. Beautiful.
Hmm.
Okay, great to see you all today. Just
Yay.
gonna sort
Looks
out
like
the
we
tech
are.
in the
Beautiful.
background. Okay, awesome. Just pull this up on my phone so I can see any comments. Great. Okay, hello everybody. I'm super, super excited to be in conversation today with Tracey Gillis-Sinclair. Before I introduce Tracey, I wanted to just speak a little bit into this series of conversations that I'm going to be hosting over the coming weeks. I have been personally on a journey over the last 12 months of reclaiming my divine feminine and rebalancing some pretty big energies that were out of balance within my system and operating out of balance for a very long time. I have been pretty transparent about a lot of that on my content and in my personal content and in my writings. And I wanted to host this series of conversations that are going to be on the topic of sacred sexuality and reclaiming pleasure and, really stepping into the embodied power that lives within the bodies of women. Because for me, this has been one of the most profound and potent healing journeys I've actually engaged on. And I've done quite a few. It has been truly, truly awe-inspiring to witness how so much of my life has shifted around me, including my business, my relationships, my mothering, my connection to spirit, my connection to self, when I made this decision to embark on this healing journey. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about that over the coming weeks. It was prompted through the birth of my second child. And when I really started to see a big clash of worlds kicking in for me. So, this desire to be with my child, with my little baby, and at the same time this real urge, this like uncontrollable unconscious urge to need to be in action in my business. And it led this, misalignment led to a lot of issues for a number of months, a solid year and a half. So it's been through rewiring and unwinding a lot of this that I've definitely seen some amazing shifts in my life. And I wanted to share this with you. It is quite edgy for me to be sharing a lot of this personal exploration with you on my public profile, but I wanted to really step into a deeper space in my leadership, which hopefully is going to encourage you guys to also start to pull back the curtains and reveal with your people some of the big transformational shifts and the big inner journeys that you've been going on, especially as women in leadership, women in business, soulful entrepreneurs. This is edgy, but it's very powerful to really step into that space. So I'm going to be hosting a series of these conversations. I'm also going to be calling together and pulling together the pieces of a brand new book project that's going to be on this topic. I've decided to create a book on this topic, even though it is not my zone of genius, because I have seen such amazing transformation in my personal life. And I really believe it's a conversation worth initiating. I know there are a lot of amazing people out there, amazing women working in this space, delivering incredible transformation. Tracey is one of them. I'm so excited to introduce you to her. And yeah, it's time, I feel, for me to really step in and claim that space as a facilitator of this conversation and, a publisher that is going to publish a book on this conversation, on this topic of pleasure and sacred sexuality and the intersection of, sex, money, and the power of pleasure. So we're going to be exploring all of this over the coming weeks. Please let me introduce you to Tracey Gillis-Sinclair. I will just tell you a little bit about how I know Tracey. Tracey, I met you back in 2015 when I was studying kinesiology in Sydney. You were one of the kinesiology teachers, and I look back on that experience of learning kinesiology with CCM, and you were one of my favorite teachers. You truly made the experience come alive for me. And since then, Tracey is also continuing to do kinesiology, but you've also moved into a bit of a different space as well. Did you want to share a little bit about that, Tracey, about the work that you do now?
Thank you, Tash. So beautiful to be here with you and your audience. So through my own journey, last year I started studying yoni massage, and yoni is a Sanskrit word for the entirety of the female reproductive system. And so for me, you know, from my past of having boundary ruptures as a child, sexual abuse, I had done a lot of talk therapy, and there was still these blocks there. There's still this freeze response for me. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, particularly around intimacy with my husband. And I thought, what's this all about? And I went and had a yoni massage, and it freaking terrified the shit out of me. The thought of it was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Is it going to work? I don't know. But there was nothing else no other tools I had that I could draw on. And so off I went, and the experience was incredible. You know, getting into the fascia, getting into the memory was what I needed to move through that and allow me to see what was there and to release its hold on me.
And so why do you think it actually took this, you know, massaging the vulva, the yoni, the vagina, to actually release this trauma, considering all of the tools that you've acquired over the years of being a therapist and being in clinic for a very long time? I'm curious to ask, like, what is it about actually massaging that space and really getting into the fascia, into the memory there, that was able to actually release that trauma for you?
For me, it was actually going to the location, not just the story around the event. And, you know, it was the events, but also the societal conditioning. But coming back to answer your question, going to where the boundary rupture had occurred and being in presence with that, I found, I'm about to sneeze, so I'm trying to,
Sure.
I found that's where the memory was, and that's where the potential sat for me. And I didn't go in with any agenda. I had no idea what was going to come out of this session, but I'm like, this is what I want to work on. This is what I really want to work on. And it was literally a touch in a certain area that made me go, hey, stop there. And it's so much about using your voice, you know, because as women, what happens, we tend to only use our voices, particularly when it comes to intimacy, like to say yes. We don't use it to say no often in intimacy. And for me, that moment of my first yoni massage was, my voice came out and I said, no, stop. And that, combined with, you know, with any type of healing, it can be tricky to know what is the magic ingredient. But that, for me, using my voice to say no, to say stop, combined with the location is what was so powerful for me in that session. And being held.
Yeah. Obviously it was incredibly powerful, because you then went on to study yoni massage, didn't you? Why did you decide to study it?
Well, it may sound a little strange, but after I had that experience, I traveled all the way down to a fabulous practitioner in the Blue Mountains. It was a beautiful road trip, and that's like 3.5 hours away from my home. And I thought, I can't, you know, it would just felt like a distance for me. And I was, you know, I meditate and I'm in connection with spirit. And I was in meditation a couple of days later, and spirit said, you need to do this. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go and do another one. They're like, no, you need to do this. I'm like, I'm sure you're talking about Tracey up the street, in the same street. Like, come on. And like, nope. I'm like, okay. So I went and did it, and it's been phenomenal. A life-changing thing. So yes, I'm a yoni massage therapist and love that work. There's a lot of potential that sits in the pelvic bowl, in the yoni, and a lot of all the stuff that we don't want to deal with, we shove down to that space. So yoni massage is a beautiful modality to really give you the opportunity to find what is there when you are receiving, where there's no expectation.
And I could imagine that some people might get confused about what the purpose is of yoni massage, because the purpose, now I will just preface this and say I have not experienced it. Potentially, like a lot of other women, there's a lot of fear there. I know that it is my edge, and it has been calling me for a very long time, but I've kind of been like, oh, I don't know. So we can talk into that, but I wanted to ask you, because the purpose is not to climax or to experience a sexual massage, or like it's not, is it?
Well, the purpose of a yoni massage is there is no purpose.
There is no purpose.
None at all. And there's no intention. There's no expectation. There, a woman might bring, like in my instance, I wanted to work on that freeze response I was having. So that was my intention as the receiver. But a woman will come with her intention, but there's no destination. There's no expectation. We're working with sexual energy. We literally are working with sexual energy. And what I have found through my experience as a yoni massage practitioner and as a woman that has received yoni massages, is we can also heal through pleasure. Where we follow, as a therapist, I follow the energy. And if a woman climaxes, then that's what happens. That's what she needed. If she doesn't, then that's what she needed as well. But that's not the intention of it. There is actually no purpose other than worshipping and revering this incredible woman for everything that she is and everything that she holds.
Yeah. And I can imagine the deep presence that comes with being having that space held for you as you sit with an area which for many women is numb, or they only associate with either negative experiences, like traumatic experiences, or sex, right?
Yes.
It's like often it's one or the other. And so I can imagine the state of just being in deep presence with that space, with that area, that anatomy would be incredibly profound.
Absolutely. It is. It's like nothing else I've ever experienced, where as a woman you are worshipped, revered, and held. And this is a space, yoni massage is a space that is for the woman receiving, for her to explore herself, for her to, it's like her training ground almost, where she can use her voice in the way she needs to, or find where it gets stifled. And she can leave with a deeper understanding of things that might be getting in the way and showing up in her life that inhibit her to show up the way that she really wants to. Yeah.
And I love this phrase, healing through pleasure, because I think it's a very, I feel this is a paradigm shift that we're seeing happen at the moment. This shift away from, needing to be in the trenches and needing to, healing needing to be a painful experience, right?
Absolutely.
Into this other paradigm, this other potential where we can heal through pleasure. So tell me your experience of that and your perception around that.
Yeah, I love this topic because I feel as a society we're conditioned. It's a whole other live. I'd love to talk to you about conditioning, but we are conditioned and it's okay for us to feel pain. Oh, it's okay. I'm comfortable if you're in pain and I'll tend to you. But pleasure is a very different thing. We're not comfortable with that as a society. And again, we don't need to feel the pain in order to move through something. we're energy. We know so much about energy, right? And so all we do in a yoni massage and in kinesiology sessions, we follow the energy. And that's what we do in a yoni massage. And if that energy comes through as a, orgasmic energy or a pleasure energy, then that's what we follow. And I've had personally had profound, when we take away that we have to, when we're receiving a yoni massage, when we take away that we need to give something back or we need to do something because we're receiving, when we take that away, there is the greatest healing potential that I've ever witnessed myself. Why? Because in the receiving, without having to give, something incredible sits there, and it's different for every woman. But there's no, when we're in the yoni generally, for many of us, and I shouldn't say generally, but for many of us women, if it gets touched or is, someone gives us an orgasm, it's like there's an ownership that goes with that. So, you own that now. So I will maintain this approach and maintain commitment. And I'm not saying commitment's bad at all, but I will be committed to you because of that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was just what I'm reminded of is, learning about oxytocin and even the power of, when a woman is climaxing with someone that she is deeply attracted to, in love with, or even just deeply attracted to, there is that oxytocin release, and that's the bonding hormone, right?
Absolutely.
So is that connected to what you're talking about here, do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. There's science out that shows how we are addicted to trauma. Our cells have got receptors on the outside, and they have adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine, oxytocin, to name a few. But when we're constantly feeding the cortisol and the adrenaline, the oxytocin and the dopamine ones start to die off.
Wow.
And then we get addicted. The oxytocin, the cortisol and adrenaline, they want to be fed. So then they'll pick fights, and they will send messages to our brain. We need to be fed. We need to be fed. So then we'll look for things that create stress for us. So yes, we are, as I said, we're working with sexual energy in a yoni massage, and we're working with the pleasure system. The breasts are included because the breasts are a big part of pleasure for women. The breasts and the heart are connected to the yoni via the vagus nerve. So we're really working with that energy and bringing life back to that union of yoni and heart, rather than the disconnect that we've been taught.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why do you think we have been taught that disconnect? From a conditioning, societal conditioning perspective?
Yeah. There's lots of thoughts on this, and for me, I really feel strongly about the Dark Ages. The women that danced under the moon and grew their crops to the seasons, and they were deemed as witches, and so they were burnt. They were thrown on the fire and burnt. Anyone that was, a threat was burnt, and the ones that were a threat were the ones that were living in tune with the cycles of nature, which is what we all are. We're nature. And so, of course, these women that were burnt or saw their sisters or aunts or mothers but get burnt, they then went, oh, we better go underground. Let's not talk about our menstruation. Let's not talk about pleasure. Let's not talk about the power that sits within us, because that will cost us. And then, we have these wounds of betrayal, of shame, and we've been carrying that. And, that's where the conditioning, I believe, has started, because in my training as a yoni massage practitioner, back in ancient times, when Cleopatra walked the earth, this is what happened. This was a rite of passage for young women to go through a yoni massage. So they understood their anatomy.
Wow.
So they understood what their body liked. and didn't like, and knowing that that can change any moment. You know, one day we might like really soft, gentle touch, which is oxytocin inducing touch. You know, the next second we might be like, oh no, go firm and press, you know, and we might want more nurturing touch. So yeah, and that was part of growing up and becoming a woman. It's like, far out, let's get back to that.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing I'm 49. I wish I knew this stuff even 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's my mission, to really help women understand and break the taboo of shame and the taboo around our sexual expression and our potential through that.
So big. And
Mm.
even from my understanding of the energetics around shame, you know, shame binds down the sacral chakra. It like literally clogs it, it shuts it off. And like, think about, I'm sure maybe every woman, but at least the women that I know would have some aspect of shame stored there, you know, stored in their anatomy, stored in that creative womb space, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Powerful.
And shame can come through so many avenues, you know, a doctor, you know, flicking his glove to give you a pap smear,
Yeah.
you know, with just consent. Okay, you know that you're getting a pap smear today. Yes. In a yoni massage, it's full-bodied consent. Like where you scan your body. If there is one part of you that says no, it's a no. You know, and so it can be as simple as not as simple, but for some women, pap smears can be extremely traumatic. I've had a very traumatic experience. So shame can come from so many, or even words we hear. Don't touch yourself. I was raised a Catholic. Don't touch yourself. That's dirty. Stop it. You know, and so that you know, it shuts down.
And I'd love to hear your understanding around like the connection between the yoni and the throat as well. The throat. What's arisen for you in that in your space around that connection there?
Well, as you know, your audience and you, Tash, might have seen the images of the vocal cords and the pelvic, you know, the pelvic muscles. They're almost identical.
And the cervix, and it's amazing.
Absolutely. So I have experienced myself the power of when for me, when my yoni was tended, it gave me the opportunity to open up when I wouldn't have ever said no. Even if my yoni was screaming no, I would go, okay, yep, that's great. You know, so there is a huge connection. I see it a lot in when I'm facilitating a woman through a yoni massage. She has the practice ground, 3.5 hours to.
Oh wow, it's 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a 3.5 hour session.
Wow.
And so she has the opportunity to play and explore that.
Yeah.
And find where she's blocked. So I see an incredible connection between those two parts of a woman's body.
Yeah, because if you've ever done any calm birth or any conscious birthing techniques, they talk a lot about it kind of the other way around, you know, through releasing the throat and the lips and, you know, this area, the vocal cords, through toning, we release constriction in the yoni so that the baby can be born more easily. But what you're doing is it's the other way around, right? And I find that really interesting.
Yeah. And the same, you know, it can be, there's no one, it's not, you know, so much the other way around. It's like that's the link between the two. There is a definite link. If we are closed up in our throat, we're most often closed up in our yonis. Yeah.
And so what sort of transformations have you seen and witnessed as a result of facilitating this work?
Oh, wow. I have witnessed women who haven't had sex with their husbands for over 2 years now have an incredible sex life with their husband. I've had women now stand in their power and ask for their needs to be met sexually, and not just sexually, in all areas of life. Women have changed careers where they may have been completely unhappy for so long. They're now, you know, another client of mine is now going on holidays with her girlfriend group where she had never done that before. She'd never left her husband, because there was a permission point that she had set for herself. And so she asked her husband, how would you feel about me going away? And he's like, fine, go for it. And there's been so many things, really powerful things, and also really small things that are equally as powerful. So just, using voice has been one of the big things. And, you know, some women come, their intention is to increase their eros, which is sexual energy. Some women haven't ever experienced an orgasm, so they want to explore what that is for them. Is it possible? Is it not? What's there when I set that as my intention and I receive? So and some women just want yoni mapping, which is mapping all the different areas inside the yoni and outside the yoni.
And what I'm hearing from you when you talk about the work as well is that it's, you know, the word that keeps coming through is vulnerability.
Absolutely.
You know, I can't imagine how, like, it is that space of being comfortable in vulnerability where so much power actually resides. And I have no doubt that in these sessions, it's very vulnerable for a woman to be in that space, right? And to surrender into that space without needing to hold on to control or surrender everything, hand it over almost.
Yeah, absolutely. In a session, we do an undressing ceremony, and then we do a full body, back, full body front. She's completely naked. And then we do the external yoni. Again, all of this is with full-bodied consent. So there are a few times throughout the yoni massage I will ask. And knowing that even if she said yes, she might be like, no way, halfway through, and that's absolutely fine as well. So we do external and then we do internal yoni massage. And all of the erogenous zones, the breasts as well.
Wow, it sounds incredibly powerful, Tracey. And what would you say to a woman who's maybe a bit like me, like feeling the call, but like equally pretty terrified at the thought of experiencing a yoni massage? What would you say?
I would say listen to her, let her guide you, let your yoni guide you, tune in, breathe in every day. You know, I really encourage all of my clients to breathe into their pelvic bowl. So really, on the in-breath, feeling the expansion, on the out-breath, feeling it relax, and just breathe there, become present, even hand over your yoni, and then let her guide you. You don't, there are only 3 reasons a woman shouldn't have a yoni massage. The first is in the first trimester of pregnancy.
Okay.
The second with an active STD. And the third if she doesn't want one.
Sure. Yeah.
So that would be my answer to that would be just tune in.
And what a beautiful way to live, right? Let your yoni guide you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Since I've been doing this work, she's guided me, and my business has gone next level. My life has gone next level. My relationships have gone next level. And I'm not saying yoni massage is for everybody. But for me, it has cleared the blocks out and opened the potential for what was meant for me to come in.
So powerful. When you think about what happens in a woman's womb, especially, the
Absolutely.
creative potential, the gestation of babies and projects and rebirthing of new identities and it is the universe.
Absolutely. It's where everything, regardless of whether you have children or not, or want them or not, every idea comes from our womb space. That's where it starts. It's a seed that we start, and then we act on that and nurture and grow that seed. But that's where it all starts. So if
Mm.
we're disconnected, we're not going to hear,
Mm.
you know, the messages that are meant for us. And if we're disconnected, that's okay as well. And you can start by simply just presencing yourself, hand on your yoni, hand over your vulva, and just breathe. Say hello, good morning. What do we want to do today?
Oh, I love that. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tracey. You've got such a beautiful, beautiful energy about you. I've always just so loved how embodied you are, how you feel when I talk with you. You're located on the Central Coast?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So for women that would love to know more about your work, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, the best way for women to find me is through social media, Glorious You Project on Instagram and Facebook.
Glorious You Project.
Glorious You Project,
Beautiful.
yes. And yeah, or my website, which is gloriouproject.com.au.
Beautiful. And I believe you have an amazing retreat coming up in September. Did you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, I have a retreat called Expressing Her coming up in September, where we will be really looking at nervous system imprints around expressing ourselves as women. Included in that will be lots of incredible heart-crafted processes that are designed to take a woman through the process of voice. There'll be guided self-yoni massage session. We'll be doing a beautiful naked mud walk. We'll be doing lots of body ceremony, a beautiful body ceremony. And we'll be gathering at the Undarkened Young Country at the foot of the Wadigan Mountains.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I just feel the power that is available for women when we truly tap into this, a natural way of being, and, you know, allowing this natural sexual creative energy to be unleashed from where it is often stored and blocked. Is there one piece of advice you might have for the woman who is considering working more deeply with her sexual energy, with her yoni, with pleasure, and not quite sure of how to maybe more deeply connect there? What would be one piece of advice?
The one piece of advice I would give a woman that's considering, you know, she's curious about that, would be to sit in presence. Sit in presence and write down what comes up for you. Like, oh, shame, oh, disgust, oh, you know, like a lean in or a lean back. And what is there? And how much of what is there stops me from showing up in life the way I really want to? And do I want to stay there, or do I want to move through that? Amazing.
Thank you so much, beautiful woman.
So welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And for anyone watching the replay, feel free to pop your questions in. I understand this is a bit edgy. I'm actually curious to know how Facebook goes with this. With this conversation and, you know, these keywords that we've used, hopefully we'll be fine. But please know if you have any questions. I'm sure Tracey won't mind if you reach out to her privately. Tracey, are you happy for people to friend request you if they want to stay in touch with you? Of course.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely.
Amazing.
More than happy.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody. All righty. We'll see you next week. Okay. Cheers.